What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. This is Zach Mullins from The Grip Show. And recently I've been doing a lot of videos pertaining to blobs and kind of breaking down different things of the different generations, the different styles, how to tell them apart. So I have a lot of videos on some individual blobs like the Fat Man, the original York blob, and the next generation, which has the USA stamp. So that older video, I'll post like a picture of it so you can go see where that's at. But the one thing I did not cover in that video, I did mention it that there was a version 2 of the Legacies, which is the newer style of dumbbell that York came out with. Has a completely different shape. But I didn't really touch on that in the other video. I didn't have an actual like physical example. So now I'm going to have kind of an updated version for just that one section. I'm not going to redo all the other information. It's in that other video if you want to check it out. But just to get started, here is the original York Fat Man blob. So basically half 100. This one comes in about 53 pounds because those dumbbells were heavy back then. This is just to show you the original style. So if you see a dumbbell that has, the slopes on both sides, it's from that older generation. These are York round heads. So if it's of the round head variety, whether it's pre-USA stamp or has a USA stamp and all that, it's not a Legacy blob. So today we're going to be pushing this out the way and focus strictly on the difference between the version 1 and version 2 Legacies. So that's just to show you that if anything looks like that, dumbbells, blobs based off York barbell stuff, that's a round head. Round head dumbbells, round head style blobs. That's one of the older generations. So moving on. For a long time, there were the Legacies, the original version of York Legacy dumbbells that people would, cut up and turn into blobs for training pinch grip. And those were beneficial, even though they have a much different shape with the flatter side and then this bigger slope, which would technically be the finger side, unless you were trying to reverse lift it with your thumb on the wider side, which is way more challenging. But for just standard lift, thumb usually is going to go on the flat side there. But, these were a big thing in the grip community and for training grip strength because for the longest time, the round heads only went up to 100 pounds. So those dumbbells would generally come in, 50, 53 pounds is the biggest one you could get your hands on. With this first generation of Legacies that came out, you started getting into, 110s, 120s, 130s, 140s, all the way up to 150 pound dumbbells. So generally getting you to, over 70 pounds, for a blob, pushing right about that halfway mark of 150 pounds, 75. So you get, 70, 75 pound single hand blob with a crazy width on it. So if anybody was able to conquer the original feat and lift the Fat Man easily, yeah, you can always add weight to it. There's a lot of methods for that as well. But it was exciting for people to have, wider, bigger, more, basically more increments of blobs to challenge themselves with this first generation of Legacies. The last few years, York came out with their, Legacy style, but they were much different in shape. So I think some people were thinking they were going to get the, kind of, oh man, now the version 1s won't be as hard to find. Well, whatever was made of these has been made. They're out there. You can find them and do whatever. But if you're buying anything new from York, this is the style of dumbbell head that you would be getting on the dumbbell. And we're just going to kind of break down some of the differences of these, some of the challenges, and I'm putting this information out so people can have an easier time to tell the difference. It should be pretty apparent, but when you're first getting into it, round head, Fat Man, York blob, block weight, there's all these terms that get thrown around. Version 1, version 2, next gen. It can get confusing for people. So that's why I kind of said, all that other information about the round heads and kind of getting into the history or different variations of these things is going to be in that other video that I put up there. This is just going to cover a very specific portion, which is the version 1 and version 2 Legacy blobs. So here I have two, basically cut up dumbbells or York blobs now. And this is the version 1, and these are both half 130s. They come in right under 65 pounds, which is right at that halfway point. So they're like dead on weight, what they should be. And the half 130 original legacy has been coined, Blobzilla. So if you've ever heard anybody talk about lifting Blobzilla or lifting a Blobzilla, that is the half 130 legacy from the first generation. So if you are lifting a, second generation or version 2 of that style blob, it's not Blobzilla. As we can see, it's not a direct comparison. It's not going to count. Doesn't mean that you can't train with it. Doesn't mean you can't use it to get stronger. Doesn't mean that it's not a hell of a feat. Just means that it's not this, right? It's different. So that's one of the big things I want to highlight is, this is a Blobzilla, and this is just the version 2 of the 130-pound dumbbell. So as we can see here, definitely a height difference, and I'm going to have some other pictures brought up to show you some of the lettering and, just different angles of this thing. So from there, obviously taller with the version 2, so we got a lot more height. The thumb side being flat is kind of the same, but with that height, it's going to change the lever or the angle, and how you lift it too. So both of them have a bigger slope and a flatter side, so that is the same, but you can see the overall width across the top of this Blobzilla. I mean, that is tough. That's tough to get your hand on. Here, you have a much easier time getting your hand over the top of it, but because it slopes out almost over like a longer, space, it almost creates like what we would call kind of like David Horn's Gold Bar or like an A-frame where you're almost pinching outward. And that can really make it tough. That's one of the reasons blobs are so good for training your pinch. Is because, if you're pinching flat stuff, it's going to be easier. If you get to where it's opening that hand up and you have to really use force to keep it in place, that's going to just tax your grip in a different way, and it's just a slightly different thing. But yeah, so we definitely have height here. So we have the height on the version 2. This is skinnier, but the length of it is what still makes it a challenge, because here, although it's very wide, you can still, when you're strong enough, you can kind of get that wrist flexion on it. It's not as far down from your hand. When you get here, this thing, I recently just acquired this from Andrew Kiro back at Nationals. He sold it to me, so I thank him for giving me a really good deal on it, and it wasn't something I was really seeking or looking to tackle at any point in time. I maybe would never even have bought a version 2 Legacy Blob had it not been, at an in-person competition and a good deal from somebody that I've met before. But I'm really glad that I, got the offer and took it up, because it does present a different challenge when you're lifting it. And what that biggest challenge for me was kind of figuring out that the more I get my hand down on it and try to lift it a little bit more strict here, this length makes it so hard to kind of maintain any type of flexion. It really just kind of straightens your hand out, and then you get into that kind of like Gold Bar A-frame style hand position. So one of the things I did, which you'll see in the video as I bring them up as I'm lifting them, is this one I kind of try to get my hand to contour completely to it. And with this one, I didn't really want to get down and try to like keep my hand as tight to this thing. I really kind of brought my thumb up a little bit higher to almost create a bigger gap here to get my fingers down. So I'm really relying on this thumb being strong enough to just catch like the minimum amount of surface area it can and still keep this thing in my hand, and then really try to use the leverage of that kind of space from the fingers to sort of keep it in an angle where I could maintain a position and actually lift it. So with this, I would never dream of going up higher with my thumb and trying to reach over on the side. You're not going to have that control of it, just that width. You're not going to get away with it that way. With this thing, yeah, and a lot of this does still come down to hand size. Most of the things we talk about in grip or training grip, you have to know the implement you're lifting, and you have to know your dimensions, and you got to kind of find out the optimal way for you to lift it. Like I said, some of the principles and guidelines are always going to be the same, but you're going to have your own little tweaks and things that you're going to adjust to it. But yeah, this is really just to show off that there's a major kind of size difference, and they both weigh pretty much the same thing, right there under 65 pounds, but a completely different feat to tackle. And I just wanted to give everybody a good look at, the width, some of the similarities, the slope, flat side. narrow and taller, creating a different angle, and basically just shorter but way thicker. And both of them, very tough challenges. In my opinion, for my hands, I still think that the traditional Blobzilla is much tougher. Now, granted, when I first got this, I was not as strong as I am now. And when I got this, I'm the strongest I've ever been, so I lifted this much faster. But that's not all I'm basing that on. It's really just, this thing was pretty slick, and just a matter of kind of getting it chalked up, kind of playing with the finger positions and where my thumb was at. I just don't think that, I think this would be way more repeatable. Like if I were to try to lift these today or, the next couple weeks, I keep training with them. This one's probably going to come up a little bit more often. It's going to be easier to repeat that. Whereas this, I might have to really, be warmed up or have my hands stretched, or I might just have to really be feeling that width is the biggest challenge for me. Whereas the width isn't the biggest deal on this one. It's just that angle and basically feeling like I'm recovered enough or have enough finger and wrist pressure that I can kind of bite down on it and keep it sort of cocked at an angle that I can control. With this, I really have to have my hand firing and in that widest position possible, basically. I really have to kind of have some more things aligned for this to come up. So this is the biggest blob I've lifted, and I don't know how much higher I could climb that legacy ladder based on just anatomy and stuff. Depending on texture, a lot of stuff going on. I might be able to get into the range of maybe a half 135 or a half 140, which is the Blob Father. But I don't currently have one at the gym here, and it's not a priority that I'm seeking out right now. I've had some in the past. I sold them off to other people and other stuff. So, but I might circle back and look at that again now that it's been a few years and I have, lifted up, some of these heavier blobs. But yeah, not to get off too much there. Just want to kind of show you the difference in these styles, the lettering as well. It's another thing. It's probably one of the last things I'll bring up, but this lettering here, still pretty similar lettering, but on the newer style, you're going to see they have like that little copyright or trademark kind of thing that's with it. The lettering on the version 2s are much thinner. They're not as thick and filled out like the block letters of the version 1. So from the lettering to the height, the width, really just about everything, it should be pretty easy to tell the difference. But for anyone that's newer or just for clarification, just so you want to feel, okay, this is what I'm looking at, or this is what I want to buy, or okay, I can claim this feat because this is the actual thing and this is a newer version. Just so there's, a better understanding, or just somewhere where this is documented, I wanted to put this video out for people so they could get a closer look at it. Both versions, kind of get an idea of how I was able to lift both, or kind of the positioning of it, and really just get a closer look at the weights. So there's not too much else to say for this one. It's pretty short, pretty simple, but yeah, training blobs, one of the best ways to improve your thumb strength and pinch grip. It's going to carry over into any other thing you do that involves, hand strength or grip in general. And yeah, not too many other fun ways to train pinch that I think beat blobs. I mean, you got plate pinching, you got other devices and handles, but conquering that next blob up or getting that thing to break ground for the first time versus, I put 2 more pounds on this pinch block. It's just a different feeling. And for those who have lifted it, understand what I'm talking about. And yeah, there's a reason it's such a historic feat of grip strength, and now a common training method that everybody's using and utilizing if they can get their hands on these. And that's why they're still sought after. It's why they're selling for big money still. So yeah, hopefully this gives you a closer look at these two, legacy versions of blobs. And if you have any other questions or any information below that I missed, skipped over, something you have a question about that wasn't in the video, yeah, ask it below. I'll get to it, answer it the best I can. And yeah, until then, just let me know what you guys would like me to cover, what you'd like me to go into detail on. And yep, see you on the next video. That's it for this one.